Hey there. I just wanted to come on here and talk real briefly today about what certifications are actually best for auditors and internal auditors, because there's a lot of debate and opinion on which certifications are best. Okay. Now, the problem with the word best is it is a very subjective term, which means what might be right for some person might not be right for you. Okay. It might not be best for you. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that, give you some things to think about so that you can determine what's best. I also thought, if people have opinions about this, what if we actually go and look at something like Wikipedia and actually see what Wikipedia suggests? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that too. And so again, as I'm sitting here talking, you might not believe me. That's fine. I've included the link to Wikipedia up above, as well as a link to some of the certifications that I'm going to talk about. So let's think about this. Kind of to begin with, is what is the best certification out there for somebody who is in audit or internal audit? Now, as I told you, there's a lot of people with opinions, but everybody's opinion isn't necessarily true, right? Just because somebody has an opinion about something like, hey, I happen to like orange. Orange is my favorite color. I'm not wearing any today, as you can see, but that's just my opinion, man, right? That I happen to think that orange is the best color because it's my favorite color. Well, if you have some other opinion, if you like blue or red or whatever, purple, uh, that would be best for you. Orange might be best for me. Okay. So, anyway, and since I'm recording this live as well, I just want to remind everybody, if you happen to be with me live, make sure and type something in the comments so that I know you're here. If you have questions as we're going along, then let me know as well. I know sometimes the comments don't come through to StreamYard, but hopefully they will. So, example, Wissam, hopefully I'm saying that correctly. You just said hi. Hi, how you doing today? I'm glad you were able to join me live as we go through and talk about this. So the first thing is that word best, right? And this is one thing that there's so many people in life that Masur, hopefully I'm saying that correctly as well. Hi, glad that you are joining as well. Um, so the word best, like I said, it might not be best for you. And there's a lot of people that think, just because they did something, or just because a lot of people do something, that must mean that it's best. Hey, Carol Switzer, you happen to be on LinkedIn right now too, listening to me. So here we go. So that's one of the first things, because again, there's a lot of people out there with their own opinions. And so, for example, I could say to myself, right, I went to Boise State University for my undergrad. I went to University of Southern California for my master's. I could tell you, look, I went to these two schools and I think they're the best because that's where I went. But is that best for you? Maybe, maybe not, right? It depends on what you would be doing. So what I did, I told you at the beginning, and we'll get in, I'll talk a little bit more about some of this too, because I want you to be able to ask yourself some questions to figure out truly what is best for you. Okay. And so I'm going to get to that in part of this video as well. But this morning I thought, hey, what if I just look at some third party source like Wikipedia? What does Wikipedia say are good professional certifications for people who are in audit? And so I pulled that up, and again, I put the link in there. If you don't believe me, you can go look at it. But under what they have for, I think it's called professional certification. Okay, and so this page is just talking about what a professional certification is, or designations or trade certifications. So it talks about generally what those things are. And then further down, it kind of shows some of the different topical areas, or what they call areas of certification. Okay, and so they have, one called accounting and external audit. So obviously there are things like certified CPA, CPA, chartered accountant, right? These are all live. So here we go, right? Um, are some of the things that are listed there. And they have a topic or an area called internal audit and fraud combat. Okay, so I just looked through and I'll just list off some of the different ones that are underneath that area. Now, the first one they list is the Certified Agile Auditor Professional. Then they list the Certified Chief Audit Executive. They list the Certification in Objective Centric and Risk and Certainty Management, the Certified Practitioner in Internal Audit, the Certified Risk-Based Internal Auditor, Certified Internal Auditor, Certified Fraud Examiner, Certified in Financial Forensic, Certified Information Systems Auditor, Certified Anti-Money Laundering Specialist, Certified Global Sanctions Specialist, Certified Strategic Auditor, Investment Advisor, Certified Compliance Professional, and Certified Professional in Enterprise Risk Management. Okay, so those are some of the ones that they list there. Now, some of those you might have heard of, some of them you might not have heard of as well. Okay, and so let me just kind of go through and explain. Some of them you might not be aware of. Like I said, some of those that were listed at the beginning, like the Certified Agile Auditor Professional, the Certified Chief Audit Executive, you might not have ever heard about that. And so I included a link up above. Those are issued by C-Risk Academy. I think they have 4 or 5 different ones that they issue that are on that list. Now, some of the other ones, again, because whenever I have this debate or talk about this with people, it's like there's this solid camp of there's really 3 that a lot of people think are like the best ones that you can have if you're in this area. And so I'm just going to go through and talk about those briefly and kind of describe again what they are and some questions that you can ask yourself on whether or not those might be best for you, or if one of those other ones on the list might be better for you. Okay. So the first one is there's still a lot of people in, especially internal audit, that say the CPA, Certified Public Accountant, is the best one to get. Or if you're international in Commonwealth countries and other places like that, a lot of times they call that the Chartered Accountant. Okay. That's actually a license that is issued usually by a government. So in my instance, I'm a CPA in the state of California. I'm also a CPA in the state of Idaho. Okay, so the state of Idaho, the state of California has issued me a license as a certified public accountant. Now, what's the CPA for? Well, really, it's designed for people who are doing external financial audits. Okay, that is the reason why those licenses exist. So obviously, it's very relevant if you're working in a public accounting firm and you're auditing financial statements. Okay, now most people though, most of the general, if you tell people, because this happens to me a lot, is they're like, they find out I'm a CPA and they're like, oh, can you do my taxes for me? No, I can't do your taxes for you. Okay, because that's not even really what CPA is for. And I've never done taxes other than my own and the ones for my company, right? But there's a misconception about that. Now, why is that the case? Well, because a lot of people in internal audit used to be in public accounting. Okay, so those people with CPAs think everybody in internal audit needs to have a CPA. Now, is that true? No, because again, that's for financial reporting. Now, okay, if you're doing internal audit, maybe you're heavy in SOX or doing some other stuff, might be applicable for you. What does it take to actually get that certification? Well, you have to have a master's in accountancy, which most of you probably don't. And you have to go through and take 4 tests and go through a whole licensing process to be able to get it. So, and you have to have, I think, at least it depends on the state or the government, but 1 to 2 years of experience as well. So for many people, that's not an option, because if you don't have a master's in accountancy, you don't meet the first qualification to be able to get it. So at that point, you either have to choose to go back to school, which costs a lot of money, takes a lot of time, if that's the road that you want to go down. So is that a best option for you? I don't know. You got to decide, right? It's not best for a lot of people. I don't suggest for a lot of people, especially if they're in internal audit, that they go down that route, because it's a lot of time, it's a lot of money, and it's not necessarily going to translate into helping you do your job better. Okay, so that's the first one. The next one, certified internal auditor. Okay, that's been around for a while. There's a lot of people that have that. What is the CIA? Well, effectively, it's three tests that you have to take through the Institute of Internal Auditors. The first two tests are really your regurgitation or your memorization of their standards. Now, some people follow the IIA standards, some people don't. You don't have to. But really, when you think about what that gives you is, yeah, you prove that you know how to audit based on the way the IIA tells you to audit. It's a very academic test. And so what I will tell you is typically people who have more experience have more difficulty passing the exam. Now, does that make a lot of sense? If you've been doing auditing for 10 years, should you have a harder time passing that exam than somebody who just came out of college? Doesn't make a lot of sense to me, right? And in fact, I've got my whole opinions. I'm going to keep my opinions to myself unless you want to ask me questions about it here or message me later. But the older I get, the less I can suggest that for most people. If you're early in your career, maybe that's fine. But as an example, I was talking to somebody who's in charge of internal audit at their organization, and they're thinking, I got to go get the CIA. Well, again, like the CPA, you've got to have, at least a college education. So you've got to have a degree. You've got to have 2 years of experience. You've got to go through and take those tests. Most people, it takes 2 to 3 years. You're going to spend $3,000 to $10,000 probably to get it. For a lot of people, like this head of audit that I was talking to, I don't think it's worth her time and effort to be able to get letters behind her name for something she already knows how to do. It's not going to help her do her job any better because she already knows how to audit. Okay. The other one that a lot of people point to is the CISA, CISA from ISACA. Now, that was designed mainly for people who are IT auditors. And again, very good certification. It's been around for a long time. And if that's an area that you are working in, if you're an IT auditor, that's probably a very good thing for you to get. Now, again, just like with CPA and CIA, it takes time. So that one, you have to have 5 years of experience, before you can get certified. You've got to take tests again, same kind of thing. CPA, CIA, CISA, you're going to spend thousands of dollars, just in taking the tests, in study prep. But the bigger cost of all of those is your time. And this is one thing that a lot of people don't think about. That's why when I tell some people, CIA is going to cost you $10,000. They're like, no, it's not. It's not $10,000. I only have to pay $1,000 for the tests. Well, you only have to pay $1,000 for the tests, and maybe another $1,000 for study material. But almost nobody passes those tests the first time, which means you're going to have to take each of those exams 2 or 3 times. So you're not paying $1,000 for the test. You're paying $2,000 to $3,000 to take the test. Okay. And like I said, that doesn't even count the hundreds of hours that you're going to spend studying as well. And to me, that's the bigger cost. The older that I get, the more my time is precious to me. I charge a lot per hour to work with people because I can't get my time back. And so again, now, as I talked about those three may be perfect for you. But here's some questions to start to ask yourself, and then I'll talk about a couple of these other options that are newer certification options that don't follow the same. I call it kind of an old and kind of antiquated, discriminatory type of process that some of the older ones do. Okay, and we'll get to there in just a minute. But here's some questions to think about. Where are you in your career? Okay, because if you're newer in your career, then there might be certain of the certifications that are more important for you to get. So, like I told you, if you're brand new in your career, maybe CIA is the perfect one for you because you still have to learn how to audit. But if you're a manager, if you're a director, if you're leading an audit department, you've already got that job. You've already spent 5, 10, 15, 20 years auditing. It's probably not going to teach you anything you don't already know. So, do you really want to spend hundreds or thousands of hours of your time learning something you already know and get frustrated trying to take a tricky exam? Again, up to you, but that's something to consider. Where are you in your career? Because that's going to make a difference on maybe which of these is best for you. Okay, let's think about another one. How much time do you have to invest? So, I know for me, when I was going through and getting them, I had, I was an executive, I had little kids at home, a family. So I was working a lot as well. So how much time do you actually have? For those first three that I talked about, realistically, unless you can put in 5 to 10 hours a week, if not more, you probably don't have the time to actually study for it. So, do you have the time? And do you want to wait 2, 3, 4 years to be able to get some of these certifications? You know, um, a lot of people, when I find out that they're studying for the CIA exam, I ask them, I say, where are you in your CIA journey? And for some people, they don't understand that. And maybe it's an English issue, where they'll say, well, I'm doing it in Egypt. Well, I'm not asking where you're living. I'm talking about the journey that you're going to be on. Because typically when you decide to get on a certification, it's a journey. For some of these, it's going to take you, like I said, 1 year if you're lucky, most people 2 to 3 to maybe even 4 years before you pass. I've known some people that it's taken 5, 6, 7, 8 years to pass. And so, where are you at on your journey? And do you want to spend that much time on your journey? That's another thing, to kind of ask yourself. Another one is, are you looking for something that, you can get and that's it? One stop shop is what I kind of call it, right? Because here's a little trick that a lot of certifications will do to you is it's not just that you get the certification, you pay the organization $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 in tests to get it, but for the rest of your career, you must pay them several $100s a year to maintain your certification. Now, to me, I think that's kind of bullshit because, if you've already done it, why do you have to pay a renewal fee for the rest of your life? That's really where the money is, right? And so if I look at things like my CIA, I've had that for 20 years now. I paid a lot of money each year to have the privilege of maintaining my certification that I already proved 20 years ago. I know what I'm talking about. Okay, so that's another one to think about, and look at some of the fine print, if you will, as you're looking at some of these things, because, like I said, I see people, and it makes me want to cry, honestly, where people have spent literally thousands of dollars. They get into it thinking, oh, it's only a couple $100. but it's a couple $100 over and over and over and over and over again until they end up, like I said, spending thousands of dollars. And what really makes me want to cry is when somebody has been working on some of these certifications for 2, 3, 4 years, and then they give up at that point because they're like, you know what, I'm tired of failing the exams. I just don't have the time for it anymore. I don't have the energy for it anymore. And so effectively, all of that money is wasted because they never walk away with a certification. Okay. So those are some things for you to think about as well. Now, I listed off some of those other ones that you might not have heard of before, like the certified practitioner in internal audit, the certified agile auditor professional, the certified chief audit executive, right? Those are maybe some that you don't know about, or maybe you haven't heard about yet. And so that's, again, one of the reasons why I'm here, sharing this information with you. What's the difference between those? Well, those are more what I call modern certifications. You don't have to have a certain education, right? So it's not like CPA where you have to have a master's in accountancy. That doesn't matter, right? What matter, you don't have to have a certain number of years of experience, right? Because really, does years of experience, does that really prove that you know something just because you've worked in a job for a long time? I don't think so. I've known a lot of people that have had the same job for 20 years. They have no fucking clue what they're talking about. Okay. But they have experience. They have experience. So experience by itself doesn't actually prove that you know anything. And so why do we have that in there, right? It discriminates against people who don't have that job, right? And to give you an example of that, for some of these certifications, right, it's a chicken and egg, right? You can't get a job until you have a certification, but you can't get a certification until you've had a job. So people are stuck wanting to get a job, but they can't, right? Wanting to do the certification, but they can't get a job to get the experience. Okay. And to me, that just doesn't make a lot of sense. If you know the material, if you can pass an exam, why do you need to have a certain level of education or a certain number of years of experience? Doesn't make a lot of sense to me unless you're just trying to limit the number of people that are able to get that certification. Which again, that's not my opinion. I think that's the wrong way of going. So what are different about some of these other ones? Well, like I said, they don't require the education requirements. They don't require experience. You don't get nickeled and dimed, right? So these are all inclusive. The test is included in it. You pay one price. That's the only price you have to pay for your whole career. Now, I know what a lot of times when people look at this and they say, oh man, that's $1,500 or that's $2,000 or that's $3,000. That's expensive. Well, is it really? It's just you're paying for it one time instead of paying for it over the course of several years. And that's all you're paying, right? I mean, I've paid, 20 years times however much the annual fee is for IIA. That's a lot of money that I've paid to keep up my CIA, as an example. Way more than a couple $1,000s. So anyway, those are out there. And like I said, the other issue is it doesn't take you 2, 3, 4 years to get. These are literally certifications that you can get in 1 to 2 months. Okay. And again, you're looking at maybe 50 to 100 hours of total investment over that time of you studying, and everything you need is included in the course, the exam, the certification, all included for one price. Okay. There's no, it's like when you go and buy a car, right? Have you ever bought a car and you go in and you agree on the price, and then you go to the finance area in the back? Oh, well, you need the warranty on this too. And then you need the this or that or the whatever else, right? And so what you think is going to be a $20,000 or $30,000 car, by the time you get done, you've financed $40,000. You spent another $10,000 that you didn't anticipate. Wouldn't it be nice if you could just get one price up front and know exactly what it is that you're going to have to pay instead of getting nickeled and dimed later? I prefer that myself. I think a lot of other people do as well. So another thing, with this is that I want to talk a little bit about the tests, and then I'm going to have to jump off here. So again, if everybody who's on with me live, if you've got questions as I've been going through here, if you post them in the comments, hopefully they'll come through and I can kind of answer some of those questions as well. But here's something that I hear a lot from people about some of the traditional certification exams. And I already told you most of them are academic, because if they weren't designed to be academic, if they weren't designed to be tricky, then people who have experience should have an easier time passing the exams than somebody directly out of college. Okay. So that shows you that a lot of the exams are very academic. If you're a good test taker, so here's maybe another question for you. If you're a good test taker, then some of those exams probably aren't going to be very difficult for you. But if you're not a good test taker, you're going to take those exams 2, 3, 4, 5 times until you pass them. And that hurts people in a lot of ways. It makes people feel horrible about themselves as well. So anyway, but with the exam, because what I wanted to say there as well is I hear from a lot of people, because I've helped people pass certification exams for many years. And one of the biggest complaints that I hear about some of the traditional exams is the questions are tricky. I don't understand them. They're worded in such a way that you have no idea what the right answer is. And honestly, I have to agree with them. I look at some of the questions and I think, first off, it's a crummy question because it's not really asking something of value. Or again, even me having spent 20 to 30 years in this industry, I would have a hard time selecting the most academic answer that they say is the best answer, because it's not what people actually do in practice. And so that's why people who have more experience usually have a harder time passing those. So with these other modern certifications, one of the differences is on the exam as well. It's not an exam that you have to, cram for, like a final would be in college. It's questions that are actually practical questions about practical topics. And that's why each of these two are more topical based, to help you. If you're somebody who wants to become a chief audit executive, or you are a chief audit executive, it's specific topics about that, right? If you're doing agile auditing, it gives you, more specific and practical things around how to audit agile. It's not going to test you on, every different thing that's out there. It's specific to that topic. And the questions aren't worded in such a way to trick you. They're only worded in such a way to make sure that you understood the material. And the nice thing with these two is as well, where I told you it's kind of a one-time cost, you don't have to repay for the exam. If you don't pass the first time, you can take it again. You don't have to pay for the exam again, and you can take it until you pass, right? Because part of test taking should be learning as well, right? And so that's all kind of included in there as we go. So hi, everybody, LinkedIn user. I can't see who you are that came through, but I know Carol had a question. Can you re-say the names of those certificates with the one-time costs? So those, again, I'll just read them off from Wikipedia. They're the ones at the top that are done by C-Risk Academy. So the first one is Certified Agile Auditor Professional. The next one is Certified Chief Audit Executive. The next one is Certified in Objective-Centric Risk and Certainty Management, Certified Practitioner in Internal Audit, and Certified Risk-Based Internal Auditor. So those are the ones that I was talking about that are those that have kind of the one-time cost. And again, don't look at it and go, man, but that's $2,000. That's expensive. We already talked about that. Okay, it's cheap compared to the time and money that typically people invest in some of these others. Anyway, it's just upfront. you pay it once instead of having to pay it for your whole career as well. Again, I can't do math. This is live right now, and I'd have to pull out my calculator and do it. But $250 times, well, here we go, times 20 years. That's easy, right? $250 times 20 years. I have paid the IIA $5,000 or $5,000 just to keep up my CIA. So how much has my CIA cost me over my career? Well, obviously the few $1,000s, and literally it was probably, I was one of the lucky ones. I passed the exam the first time. Most people don't. In fact, there's only maybe 10 or 15% of people that actually pass all of the parts the first time. So I was lucky that way. But I probably still, like I said, I spent probably $2,000 to $3,000. And again, this was 20 years ago, for the study materials and to prepare myself and take the exams. But just in the renewal fees, I've spent another $5,000, right? With these other ones from Sea Risk Academy, you'd never pay that additional $5,000. Okay. So yeah, it's a little bit more upfront, but it's much cheaper over the course of your career. And the topics that are described and that you learn in those are actually much more practical things that you can actually apply directly into your job. Eleni from Greece, welcome. Glad that you are here. I'm in LA. You're in Greece. We've got people, I think, I'm not sure if Carol happens to be back in Arizona, if you're up in Canada now, but and wherever everybody else is at. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share today. Like I said, there's some links up above as well. You can always obviously reach out to me, direct message me on social media. You can also, there's a contact form at jasonmefford.com where you can fill out if you want to contact me. I don't give out my email publicly because I already get literally hundreds of junk mail a day that are out there as well. Carol saying, can you post the link? Yeah, the link is up above in the comments, but let me try to put it here in the comments. It might go back to the platforms. It might not, but here's the, I just put that in the comments section. So hopefully that'll populate depending on which channel you're watching on. So one thing too, with these live videos, I know, I'm streaming out to Facebook and LinkedIn and several different groups in different areas. I'm also at the same time streaming to my YouTube channel. And so all of these videos, I know sometimes live videos, you're like, oh, I watched that, but now I can't find it on social media. You'll be able to find any of that on my YouTube channel as well. So all these live videos will be up there as well. And so you can always go back, and it's usually easier to find them there. And in fact, let me just put in the channel link here as well. So you can go directly to my YouTube channel. Over the years, I've been surprised, but there's literally hundreds and hundreds of videos up there that I have done over the years as well. So I've got just a couple more minutes that I could hang on. If anybody has questions here at the end, put them in the comments. Yeah, because like I said, I've got a couple minutes before I have to be on to my next call. So I'll hang out for just a minute. And like I said, if anybody has any other questions or comments, put them through here. And if I don't see anything come through in the next 30 seconds or so, then I'm going to call it a day on this live video and get on with the rest of my day. So hopefully everybody's doing, having a good day. Carol, thank you. Good job. Appreciate that. All right, everybody. Well, hopefully this was helpful. Like I said, if you've got questions, about the stuff too, reach out to me on social media, fill out a contact form off my website, because I'll respond back. And you usually know too that if you send me a message, it's typically me that's the one that responds back. So there's a real person on the other side of however you're interacting with me. So with that, have a great day, and we'll catch you on the next live.